More U.S. airstrikes in Iraq today as the president says this operation does not have a timetable. But is his strategy, if you want to call it that, simply too little, too late? With me now, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Good evening, Colonel. Are these U.S. airstrikes enough to stop ISIS?
So far, to be honest, it's a joke. Look, there's three things you have to do here, Judge. First off, you've got to make it clear that we're in this to win it. Even without boots on the ground, you've got to be very definitive. There are some huge issues at stake here. They've just taken the Mosul Dam, which is a huge resource, which is clearly in jeopardy. They destroy that. They destroy a lot of resources for the people of Iraq. Secondly, you've got to make it very clear that you're out to defeat their command and control. This is something that can be done rapidly, and frankly, it may have to go into Syria to do it. Third, it has to be very, very overwhelming. If it were up to me, I would be using B-52s in addition to the F-A-18s just to prove a point. I was talking to a general on a drive-in who experienced these things during Vietnam, and he said, I felt sorry for the enemy. Judge, we're not doing sufficient work to actually put the fear of God into the ISIS folks.
But I'm not sure that that's what the president wants to do. I'm not sure he knows what the strategy is. But I want to go back to something you said a few seconds ago, and you said without boots on the ground. Now, a few months ago, the president announced that he had 300 guys there, and I understand the number is now 600. So we do have boots on the ground in Iraq, correct?
We do, and let me define that more clearly. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that there's no clear policy. If you go to londoncenter.org, we have a clear policy we put out 2 months ago, about the same time you came up with your conclusions. The president has to define what our objectives are. Our objectives should be very clearly stated, and those military resources should be focused on those. He's not done that yet. More importantly, the pieces of Iraq which have been taken, we don't have boots on the ground. Our best bet, Judge, is the Kurds. The Kurds are organized. They're Christian for the most part. They're economically stable, and they are our best allies. So we need to basically figure out a way to use boots on the ground, not ours, but theirs, and then combine that with very effective airstrikes and a plan of how we're going to walk these guys back.
We are not giving them the weaponry that they need, correct?
No. We're not.
Okay,
no.
we're not. Okay.
No, and that's part of the problem. Again, it goes to your point. There's no clear objective or policy.
The ISIS is using our weapons that we gave to the Iraqis that they dropped.
We've been trying to convince Congress to pass the Get Our Stuff Back Act of 2014, which allows us to go back in and kill any vehicle, tank, weapon we see ISIS has with impunity. Again, we need to go in and clean this up. We helped create this. A little bit of history. General Austin, the current commander of Central Command, when he was in Iraq, recommended we keep 24,000 troops. President Obama overruled him. Now General Austin should be allowed to do what's militarily necessary to stop ISIS and begin walking it back. We could do this. We can do this.
But does America, I mean, do Americans have the appetite for this now? I mean, are Americans saying, hey, wait a minute, that's their fight, it's over there?
Yeah, the Iraqi people, no doubt, have to sort this through for themselves. It'll probably end up in a partition state, 3 separate countries. Judge, that's different. We're talking about ISIS, a terrorist organization, as you point out in your opening, is worse than Al-Qaeda, more effectively trained than any other terrorist organization on the planet, know how to use social media. We are up against someone who will do what Al-Qaeda tried to do back in 2001, but probably do it better and more effective. They are not kidding when they talk about being in your city, New York, or here in Washington, where we're at right now. They are out to do that, and I would take them at their word.
Well, you know, the president, interestingly enough, said today that, you know, his team has known about this for some time and they've been watching them. I mean, so what took him so long?
Political correctness. Let me be very clear. The president's correct. The intelligence on this has been coming in since before January. We've seen this over the past year basically go into the critical mass it is now. Judge, as early as January, February, Congress was being briefed on this, and yet the administration was pretending that everything is just fine. And I do believe it's because there's an interest to not do anything against any Muslim group, no matter how extreme they are, which is totally insane based on the intelligence coming in.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And coming up, chaos around the globe.